Okay, so I recently went from my town, Molde, to Oslo, which is the capital of Norway, and then I went to Japan, and then I went from Japan to South Korea, and then I went from South Korea back home. So that was my journey. It was kind of like, So the original plan was going from my little town to Oslo, from Oslo to Moscow in Russia, from Moscow in Russia to Tokyo in Japan, and then stay there for a while, then going to Osaka, after like 4 days, being there for a week, and then going back to Japan, like Tokyo, and then from Tokyo I was going to go to Seoul, South Korea, and I was going to stay with some friends that's closer to Suwon in South Korea, and then I was going to go back to Japan the day before we head back to Norway, same way through via Moscow. So that was the original plan. It sounds a bit complicated, but it wasn't really that complicated. But here's where things go all to hell. So the first problem occurs in my hometown, like the very first place, and that fucks up the entire trip. So, I'm at the airport. I know I could have calculated more time, but I'm at the airport, and my flight from Molde to Oslo gets 2 hours delayed. 2 hours. Actually, a bit more, actually. So that fucks up everything, because my flight in Oslo, I ordered like the trip from my town to Oslo and back. I ordered that separately, and then we all ordered the trip from Oslo to Tokyo and back as like a collected trip, like a round trip. Yeah, I think that's what it's called. So I lost my flight in Oslo. Like I landed, and the plane to Moscow and Japan was still in Oslo, but I landed too late and I did not make it. Which kind of like, I cried, okay? I went into the bathroom at Oslo airport and I just cried a little bit because I just lost my flight to Japan. And keep in mind, this is the first time I have traveled anywhere without my parents that was like actually on a trip. I have been flying alone before because I lived at a school that was far away. But this was the first trip like alone, and it fucks up at the first stop. I'm sitting in Oslo, I'm like, how the hell? What am I doing now? And I talked with my parents, and they talked with the insurance company, and travel insurance, and they say that we're gonna pay for it so you can get to Japan. So just order a new ticket, and you go to Japan, and you have a nice trip. So I ordered a new ticket, and the new ticket it goes via Turkey. It goes via Istanbul to Japan. And that's like, I don't know, 4 hours of flight or something, and then an 11-hour flight. So I ordered that ticket, I go to the gate, and then that flight gets 3 hours delayed. 3. And 3 hours, you shouldn't actually need more than that in theory. So at least, like, this time I ordered the flight with the same company, so they were responsible to get me to Japan because they fucked up with their delays. I'm sitting on the flight, like, the thing is, we were boarded on the plane an hour late, and then we sat on the plane, on the runway, for 2 hours, waiting for people in Istanbul to be like, yeah, okay, you can go now, because there were some issues. So I'm sitting on the plane, and I just kind of feel like giving up. I kind of feel like just getting off and flying back home to my little town and just give up on the whole trip. But I've invested a lot of money, and also, they don't really let you off the plane once you're on the plane and they're boarded and everything. They're not gonna let you off just like that. So I'm sitting there, and I actually cried a little bit there too, because it was a horrible experience. I was just sitting there like, what the fuck am I doing now? I'm gonna get stuck in Istanbul. I'm losing my flight to Japan from Istanbul. I'm gonna be stuck in Istanbul. What do I do then? So that was fun. Finally, we take off. We land in Istanbul at like 1 a.m. and I kind of buzz around the airport for a while, and I don't know. It's Istanbul. It's weird. I had to buy a visa. I had to go to the pass control. I got a new ticket for the next morning. The new ticket was the next day at 12-ish? No, 1 p.m. I think. I was given a ticket, and then it said go through passport control, then go to the airport hotel desk, and then they will send you to a hotel so you can rest until the flight. And so I did. I actually spent forever at the airport just trying to find anything, trying to find the airport desk, trying to find the fucking pass control. Like, it was a big airport. Finally, they put me on a shuttle bus to the airport hotel. And nobody told me that was gonna take 2 hours. 2 hours! I think we left like around 4 a.m. and it took like 2 hours, and we arrived at like 6 a.m. And I was a little dumb. I thought maybe I could still get a couple hours of sleep, but other people around me told me that no, you have to go back now, because we arrived like at 6 a.m. in the morning, and after that the traffic is gonna pick up and it can take forever to get back to the airport. So the 2 hours we spent there could actually easily take like 3 or 4, maybe even 5 hours back, I was told. So I freaked out, and I was like, you know what? I need to get back to the airport. So I run around all over the place trying to find someone who can bring me back, like trying to speak to the staff at the hotel, They don't speak English. They don't speak English. Finally, I get back to the airport in time, and then I finally get on the plane to Japan, and finally I'm on my way. It took me over 40 hours to get there. It was supposed to take me less than 20, and it took me over 40 hours, like 44 I think, to get to Japan. And I arrive in the morning, and the trip is fine. And but the problems don't stop there. So I had plans to go to South Korea at the end of the trip. Like the last days in Tokyo, I was gonna go to Korea instead, alone, by the way. But there was a little bit of a crash with my travel companions. We were slightly disagreeing on what we wanted to spend our time with, and I just felt kind of like, you know what? Maybe I'll just go to Korea a bit early and spend more time there. Maybe that's okay. So I did. So I wanted to move my ticket, but nobody answered my fucking email. So I bought a new ticket, and that was okay. So I went there. I was gonna go back on June the 4th, back to Japan. And then on June 5th, we were going to go back to Norway. But here's the thing. Like, this might make sense to you if you already knew it, but keep in mind, you have to learn it somehow. Someone have to tell you this. I thought that when you buy a ticket, a round ticket, like, I thought you had 2 tickets. One to the place and one back. No, you don't. You only have one, and that's like 1 round ticket. So yeah, it kind of makes sense. But at the same time, you can understand how I thought you had 2 tickets. So I thought that even if I didn't take the ticket from like the starting point, I could still use the ticket to go back. That's false. I figured that out on June 4th. I was standing on Incheon Airport in Seoul, trying to go back to Japan, and they tell me, you can't use this ticket because you didn't use the ticket from Japan. Did I confuse you now? I bought a new ticket from Japan, so I didn't use the round ticket, so that was cancelled. So I didn't have a ticket back to Japan. Now actually, this was a good thing that I realized that in Seoul, where I actually, like, I was living with a family, I had people there, because that counts for the trip back to Norway as well. Because I lost my flight in Oslo, I did not have a ticket back to Norway from Japan. So actually it was kind of good that I realized that in Seoul, where I could actually go back to a house and then just leave the next morning with a new ticket. I had to buy new tickets. I spent so much money buying new tickets. So it ended up being a good thing that I realized that while in Seoul, where I could just go back to the house, buy a new ticket, and then leave the next morning, instead of going to Japan and just stand there being like, oh, okay, bye, because my friends had their tickets, but mine was cancelled because I lost it in Oslo. Bottom line is, I lost a lot of money and I was really stressed. For a few hours, I was sitting in Seoul at Incheon Airport with no ticket back home. I had no ticket to Japan, I had no ticket from Japan back home, I was just stuck. But you know what? I had a savings account. It was supposed to be for when I start studying this fall, but you know, who needs food? So I had a savings account and I had to use a lot of that, and I got a new ticket and I flew back, and I actually arrived at the same time as I would otherwise, because there was a flight from Seoul to Norway, and it would arrive at the same time. It was the same flight from Moscow to Oslo as I would otherwise have taken. In the end, I survived. In the end, I got everywhere I needed to go. I was able to go to Japan, I was able to go to Korea, and I was able to get back home. My entire family is so relieved that I'm back home because of all the troubles that occurred while I was traveling. Now, I would not have survived this trip at all had it not been for the amazing people that I met, because I'm from Norway. Norway is not known for being extremely open to people they don't know. So for me, it was terrifying, to start a conversation with strangers. But it started in Oslo, when I was sitting at the gate waiting for my flight to Istanbul. I was talking with this lovely lady that was sitting next to me with a yellow shirt, and she was really nice, and we spoke together. She spoke Norwegian, so that was nice. And she was really nice, so we spoke with her. And then on the flight, I was sitting next to a slightly elderly guy from, actually not so far from where I'm living, like the next town over or something. I was talking with him. He was really nice. He was a little comforting when he realized I was freaking out. But again, it was my first trip alone and everything went wrong. So he was really nice and his friends were really nice. They were actually going to Egypt, so they lost their flight as well. At the airport in Istanbul, I also met another Norwegian guy who lost his flight, and he was super nice and actually really handsome as well. And while sitting at the Starbucks waiting for the airport hotel stuff to happen, I met some really nice guys from China. I think they're from China. They were Chinese, but I think maybe they were living in Taiwan. Anyways, they were so nice, and they actually looked out for me a little bit and, made sure that I got where I was going to go. Because when we were at the airport hotel and I was trying to get back, like they helped me find some other people that was also going to Japan so I could stick with them. So they made sure that I got with the other guys that were going to Japan, and those other guys were some really lovely German people. Like, there were, I think, 3 girls and a guy, and they were so nice, and they, like, took care of me. Like, we were all super tired. Really. We have all been losing our flights and been up all night, and we were all, like, just, no, we don't want to do this anymore. But they also, like, kind of took a bit care of me and let me tag along. It was amazing. Like, those people, even though it was a bit scary to actually start a conversation with them, just kind of being like, yeah, so you lost your flight as well? Where were you heading? And just that little conversation starter saved my life. I would not have survived this trip, like, figuratively. Like, mentally speaking, I would not have survived had it not been for the really, really nice, amazing people that I met that were all in the same situation. We all lost our flights and we were all victims of delays. So this is my grand thank you to all of you. You were so nice and you saved my mental life, my mental state. A lot. Thank you so much. So this was my amazing little journey. It was quite a mess. It was a horrible mess. So in the end, real quick, Turkish Airlines, I don't really have anything to say wrong about them. It was not their fault that there were issues at the airport in Istanbul that caused all the delays. So Turkish Airlines, they had good service, nice people. Food was okay. I mean, yeah, it's airport, like, it's flight food. It's flight food. Aeroflot, which is the Russian airline that we flew with, back home, they were just super nice. Well, super nice. Like, they did their job. It wasn't, like, amazingly good, but it was nice. They gave us food. They gave us what we wanted to drink. They were on time. So that was nice. We also flew with Peach from Japan to Korea. That was also just fine. I don't really have anything to complain about there. I know Peach, I've heard issues with Peach, like people had issues with them, but I didn't really experience it. It was just fine. Peach was fine. And finally, Norwegian air shuttles. I'm not flying with you anymore. I'm sorry, but you're cheap and your staff is just okay, but I'm not flying with you anymore. Every time I try to fly with you, you are delayed, and that just fucked me over so bad the entire way. So I'm not really flying with you anymore. I'm sorry, I'm going with SAS from now on. And I think that's about it. I think that's about what I wanted to say about this. Maybe something will pop up later that I want to talk about, but that will be in just a normal vlog. So yeah. I have gotten to rant my ass off about this entire affair. It was a horrible experience, but it was also amazing. And as a person with, like, slight social anxiety, like, I'm not, like, sick. It's not, I don't think of it as, like, I have an illness of social anxiety. It's not that bad. But I have tendencies of social anxiety, and also I'm from Norway, so I'm just naturally a very cold, closed-up, very self-conscious person. This journey has really made me grow in a way that I had to talk with people, and I had to deal with these situations where everything went wrong, and I had to be stuck in Istanbul. It was a special journey. It was a very troublesome journey. It was worth it in the end. And you got my little review of the airlines. And with that, I'm gonna take my leave. It's been a while since I said that, so yeah. Subscribe if you want to. It would be nice if you did. There will be more videos now, and what else do I usually say? Have a nice day. Bye.